advantage is we're a duty-free shop, basically. There is no duty. There is no import duty, export duty. There is no VAT, GST.
Patrick, good to see you again. And very nice looking wallpaper.
Good afternoon. Yes, I thought I'd change things around a bit and put up some of the better selling products that we have, just to show people what our products look like.
Yeah, that's a very eye-watering picture there. The Hong Kong Legislative Council elections coming up real soon, December 7th. I want to talk about the precious metals industry, because I think the last time we spoke, we talked about how the precious metals industry is probably underrepresented in Hong Kong, especially because we have financial services. So that's more paper gold, ETFs, those kind of products. But there's a whole other industry of manufacturers and refineries, and I think they seem to be underrepresented in Hong Kong. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, well, I think it's a rather complex picture in Hong Kong, but yes, the overall focus of Hong Kong on financial services is overwhelming. And of course, the reason for that is that Hong Kong is in the top league globally as financial center, right? I mean, the three financial centers in the world are New York, London, and Hong Kong, by a margin. So, of course, the financial services here in Hong Kong play a major role for the economy. And then, of course, that feeds into the financial services sector being very well represented in LegCo, and also their interests being lobbied to ExCo, and just in general, Hong Kong. You just have to fly into Hong Kong and see the skyscrapers. It's the banking industry, right? That is of paramount importance in Hong Kong, and it just overshadows really everything else, even the logistics sector, even though Hong Kong is still a very large logistics hub. So that being said, there are a number of institutions that do represent the interests of the physical precious metals industry, most notably the Chinese Gold and Silver Exchange Society, which now has been rebranded, I believe,
Hong Kong
into
Gold Exchange.
Hong Kong Gold Exchange, exactly, just quite recently. So that, of course, but there also, to be honest, on that board, who is very present there is HSBC and OCBC Wing Hang Bank, because they're also in the physical precious metals game. So even on that or in that institution, the banks are very well represented, as are the large refineries here, most notably Heraeus, and then there's a few local ones that are represented there as well. But the fact of the matter is that in terms of media coverage, in terms of direct LegCo time, I think there could be more that could be done for the precious metals industry, especially given that, again, now it is Hong Kong's policy to expand its standing in the world as a commodities trading hub with a special focus on gold and other precious metals. And there, I think part of this also is to educate people and not only the retail market, but also people in the administration, people in the legislation or in the legislative organs and in the executive organs, that they can come and if they have questions, follow us or give us a call, and we're happy to sit down and share our knowledge and our experiences on the ground, because I mean, we do this business every day, and it is a niche business. It is a very specialized business. It is a bit of a difficult business to get in. There are certain practical entry barriers. And to a certain extent, it is a business that enjoys being outside of the limelight for security purposes, right? We don't want it advertised in big neon lights, that where our offices are, because it's even though Hong Kong is a very safe place, you still shouldn't be complacent, and smash and grabs happen, robberies do happen, you need to be very well aware of that. So it is an industry that doesn't seek the limelight, and that does operate in the quiet. So unless you have contacts into the industry, it can be difficult to find out all the ins and outs, and what is important, what could be improved, and so on and so forth. I'll just give you an example, for example. Let me give you an example. When you talk to some politicians here about the precious metals business, sort of their initial thought of how can we support the precious metals industry was, we can provide land for facilities, for production facilities. And because in their mind, a precious metals refinery is a large factory.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to sort of explain to them, actually, it doesn't need a lot of space. A lot of refineries here are in industrial units and have a few thousand square feet. You don't need hectares of land where you're building a huge automotive production plant or something like that. And what's much more important for precious metals production are the environmental regulations, because it is an industry that does cause emissions.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have very strict emission standards, that impacts how a precious metals production facility can be utilized. So that is much more important than the government designating a large amount of land to production. It's much more important to work with the producers that are already here, and come up with an environment where they can operate, let's say, a 3-shift day, rather than a 2-shift day. And that means, what does that mean? That means the output of the factory increases by 50%, because you're going from 2 shifts to 3 shifts,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's a massive increase, and you don't need 1 square foot more land, and you're actually creating a few more jobs, and you're creating more value add in Hong Kong. And all it really takes is, a reclassification of certain emission standards, or a reclassification of the area where those refineries are located, and that permits a higher level of emission.
But I think that would get another department involved, the EPD. So that would be
Yes.
a bit more complicated. But
Yeah,
by
absolutely.
by 3 shifts, do you mean running 24 hours?
Yes, usually
Okay.
that would go to well, I mean, 24 hours. They probably would have to shut down an hour just to clean everything out. But
Right.
yeah, it basically you'd have a morning shift, an afternoon shift, and then a night shift.
But you brought up an interesting point. It's really a common misperception. People think refineries, they're like huge, auto factories. But I think because we've all seen, gold refineries or silver refineries in movies, and they look massive. So that's the misperception right there.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and they're really not. I mean, I've been to, the largest refineries globally are located in Switzerland,
Hmm.
and I've visited a number of facilities in Switzerland, most notably down in Mendrisio. I've been to a facility there many, many, many times, and yes, in a way, it looks like a prison, because they've got a very high wall, even in Switzerland, which also is a very safe jurisdiction. They're not taking any chances.
Hmm.
But this is one of the largest refineries by a country mile globally. And even that is not a very large facility. I mean, if I were to, I'm not so good with numbers in terms of measuring
Area.
areas, but it basically, it's not even the size of a school building.
Okay.
And it's not a high, but it's 2 stories, and then you've got sort of like a gymnasium hall in the back, and that's where the production is.
Okay.
And then they've got a big sort of wall around it. So again, you don't need a lot of space. And here in Hong Kong, very often they're, like I said, in industrial units, they might have 2,000, 3,000 square feet, and that's all they need.
Okay. So, well, one last thing before we go. What kind of policy adjustments do you think the government needs to make to promote Hong Kong as an international gold trading hub? Because, like you said, a lot of operators or dealers, they operate in the shadows. They don't want to
Yes.
be out and about. But that goes against the government's wishes to make this more public and attract more foreign investment. So how do we make this front and center?
Yeah, well, I think we're on the right way. So they've developed a policy and they've formulated that policy from the top down that, gives the direction that we should be going in, which means that the goal is to establish Hong Kong as the #1 trading hub globally for precious metals. Now, Hong Kong already is very important, and it already has a lot of positive factors that is driving that, most notably in the Greater Bay Area, the large production facilities of jewelry. But
Mhm.
in order to continue that drive and do it publicly, have the government come out and say, look, we want to attract further market liquidity to Hong Kong, and we want to also expand production facilities here in Hong Kong. And how do you do that? You usually do that by incentivizing people that produce that product by creating demand. So one way of creating instant demand, recurring demand, would be, like we've said a few times before, opening up the Hong Kong pension system, the so-called MPF system, for physical gold investments. That would create a monthly demand cycle for physical gold, which would be stored here in Hong Kong. And would add to the liquidity pool of Hong Kong. And given that we have 5 million plus people paying into the MPF system every month, that would create quite a demand, I'm pretty certain, which would attract further international producers to invest in Hong Kong in production facilities.
Mhm.
That would lead to a larger physical liquidity pool, but that also leads to financial products around it. So you'll have derivative products around that. You'll have trading products around that, because obviously, a producer of physical precious metals products also needs a bank account, also needs a trading system, also needs a settlement system, also needs a hedging system, all those sort of things. The whole ecosystem around that would grow also. The logistics sector would grow together with that. And I think we, quite validly would be acting as a beacon to the world and say, like, look, we don't only need North American equities
Mhm.
or even Asian equities for our pension system. We also have commodities or precious metals in our pension system. So we're diversifying away from pure financial products, pure paper products, which depend on the financial markets to work and currencies to work, to a product with a, I don't know, 5, 6, 7,000 year track record,
Mhm.
which does not need an international financial system to operate and work and preserve wealth and preserve capital. Hong Kong's advantage is we're a duty-free shop, basically. There
Mhm.
is no duty. There is no import duty, export duty. There is no VAT, GST. So it's the simplification of corporate processes, simply because of that, cannot be overstated. I don't need a full-time accountant in my company to do the monthly VAT filings. Why? Because we don't have it.
Yeah. Great insight. I think we need to start lobbying the lawmakers harder to lobby the government.
Well,
Start
got a
doing
bit
that.
of luck.
Yeah, well, thank you for your insights again, Patrick. Always a
No
pleasure
problem.
speaking to you. And
My pleasure.
enjoy enjoy the weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, thank
Talk
you.
to you
Talk to you
soon.
soon. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.